So next stop is the blacksmith shop, because all your horses have to have shoes, and you have to have nails and hinges and everything that goes on in the house. Look at all the cool things.
Welcome to the blacksmith shop. This is a working blacksmith shop. Our fire has gone out for the day, but it was going earlier this morning. So we do actually make things in here. This is your 18th century hardware store. But we are much, much better than Lowe's or Home Depot because we actually make and we repair things. They just sell stuff. And we would not be here on the grounds because that would be like having Home Depot.
That's right.
Which would be very handy, but rather low class. So Governor Tryon relied on blacksmiths out in town for the repairs that he needed to iron work around the estate. Most of the things that you see here on the counters or hanging around the shop were made by our present generation of blacksmiths. We make practical things primarily, tools and hardware for farmers and fishermen. Those are our primary groups that we serve. We also make things for homes and businesses in town, and you would have a couple of blacksmiths down by the water who service the fishing and the shipping industries. We have a lot of maritime business around here. We make practical things. We make pretty things. You can make decorative items in a blacksmith shop. You make functional things like an adjustable candle.
That's cool.
This was called a courting candle because in the 18th century people did not go out on dates. A young man would come and visit a young lady at her home and he would talk to her and her father about what a wonderful husband he would make, how much money he made, what his prospects were, things like that, and he would have as long to talk as it took the candle to burn down. So if Dad liked him, Dad could wind it way up and he'd have a long time to talk, and if Dad didn't like him, he'd start out with it way down.
Oh.
So you didn't have to take a long time.
Oh.
We have another adjustable light. Our chandelier, which has two candlesticks on it, is something that you would use to illuminate a whole room if you hang it up by the ceiling, just like a ceiling light today. But if you're sitting at a desk or reading at your chair, and you want the light right down on top of your work, so you can raise and lower it, we call that our 18th century dimmer switch.
Ingenious.
And you can do the same thing with a hook. So you can raise and lower pots over the fire, just like they do in the kitchen office. That's how you change the temperature of what you're cooking, is you raise and lower or change the distance.
I thought
between the
that
pots
was to raise and lower a chandelier.
Yep, this is, but you can also use a hook for it. You can use it for several things. You can also use S-hooks to do the same thing. Those are hooks shaped like S's that you can just add and subtract to move things up or down. We make long-handled utensils like spoons and forks because when you're working with a fire like the one in the kitchen office, you don't want to reach your arms in over that, or your wooden utensils. So you have long-handled metal utensils that you use in the eastern part of Carolina. In the
ground's still soft.
We don't have paved roads down here. We have mud and dirt and sand and swamp. Up north you have paved streets, bricks and cobblestones, and over in Europe you've got stones on your Roman roads. But down here we don't have anything that's going to wear down the hooves, so we don't shoe our horses. But as you move further west in the colony, then you run into fields that have rocks and stones in them. So you're working around those. You've got to shoe your animals, your horses, and your mules, and your oxen.
Wow.
Even your working cattle need to have shoes.
Oxen.
Since cattle have cloven hooves, then you got to account for that when you make their shoes.
What's that?
That is a little bitty anvil, just like the one we have over there. One of our blacksmiths made a little bitty one, and another one made a little bitty hammer and a little bitty pair of working tongs.
Oh, wow.
To hold things.
I thought that was like a souvenir playset or something.
I think they made several of these for the gift shop. I'm not sure. I know there were several of them, and I don't see them around there advertised. Just like our anvil is made out of iron, so if I threw this at the anvil, it would stick. That's what we make metal out of, make things out of, is iron and steel. This is coal. This is what we burn in our fire because it gives us a much hotter fire than the wood that they use over in the kitchen. This is obsidian. This comes from lava out of volcanoes. You can use this to strike sparks to start your fire if you don't have any flint. It tends to chip though, so I don't like using it. And then flint is what you use with steel to strike sparks. So that you can do that. You've got a striker, and you've got there we go. So you do that, and you have some tow, which is rough linen, and this is what the sparks light on and starts smoldering. And you just keep adding little bits of kindling, and then bigger bits of kindling, and start your fire. It's the same stuff that linen comes from.
And yet you think of linen as being so soft.
Well,
I mean, that's
if
soft,
you
but
process
it's not,
it, yeah. Once you process linen to that point, or you can have very coarse linen, which is what poorer people will use.
Is that graphite?
That is another piece of coal. Just like this big one. You have to break it down into smaller pieces so it will burn more easily. The pieces that we use are about, you can get about 5 out of that, the size that we use.